Hi there, and welcome back to our coping skills series. So I'm your host, Tom, and today we're going to be talking about making connections. Now, a lot of the other times we're talking about some different skills, but this is a skill that a lot of people get a little bit nervous about, and then they have a hard time. It's like, well, when you're anxious or when you're feeling low, people have a tendency to isolate themselves, right? So either because they feel that people don't want to be around them, or they don't want to be around people, or a combination of those two. But this is the time when you actually need to be more connected with people, because for whatever reason, our brains like to isolate us, and then it just works that awful magic on us where we just get into our own head, and that's when things kind of snowball, right? So that's where we get into the catastrophizing or the black and white thinking or the mountains and molehills. And so one of the ways to break that connection in our mind is to make connections with others. Or if you're not at that point, then making a connection with something that you enjoy doing. And so one of the things that we really try and push with people is what kind of hobbies do you like to do? What are things that you like to enjoy? We've had several people who have come in who were used to be artists, and hadn't painted in years, or they were musicians and hadn't played in a long time. And even just getting them to connect with, like, look, just pick up the guitar for 5 minutes, and just whatever you're running through chords, or pick up a drawing book and just doodle. Doesn't have to have a purpose, just draw, and whatever comes to mind, or whatever your pen decides to draw, just go with it and don't judge it. So just do. What this does is it focuses on things that were enjoyable before. So even if you don't have enjoyment with it now, you did before, and it's much easier to make those connections than it is to make new connections, because your brain's already had those neurons firing, and they're just a little bit dormant. So you can actually become a lot more content or happy with things that you always made you happy before, or that had made you happy on a regular basis before. So even though you don't feel like doing an activity, I want you to try that. So where it's either 2 to 5 minutes of the day, and that's, you can literally time it if you want. So if you used to be a sketch artist, or you used to doodle and you really enjoyed it, you have a bunch of adult coloring books. If you're like, I don't know what I want to draw, then just color it in. And I want you to just focus on that. I don't want you to try and multitask and think of all the 100 other things you got to do that day. I just want you to focus on the coloring, or the doodling, or the music riffs, and I want you to try and do them. The other piece will be is we also disconnect from people that we care about, and a lot of times we convince ourselves that these people don't care, or I'm not important, or and this goes back to our negative core beliefs. And so if you start noticing some of that language, that's very typical with low mood and anxiety, where when we're down, sometimes our brain wants to just keep kicking us, and it's really counterproductive, but it's very typical of response of a brain. So we want to connect. We want to start to break some of those negative core beliefs, or unhealthy thinking patterns, and we want to build those connections. And so even if it's 2 minutes of connecting with a friend that you haven't connected with in a while, and that can be in person, that can be online, that can be, start with wherever you're at. The closer the in person's best, but if you can't connect in person, can you connect by phone? Can you connect by messenger? Can you connect by video? Even if it's by text, just something that gets you connected to others. And it could be just something like, hey, we haven't chatted in a while, do you want to connect? Or hey, I haven't seen you in a while, do you want to go for coffee? And you'd be surprised at how often people will be like, yeah, you know what, I was thinking about giving you a call the other day, and I just never got around to it. And so try to be brave And I want you to try and build those connections again. And again, start with where you're at. If a text is all you're capable of at this point, that's okay. That's more than what you're doing now. And so, but building those connections or establishing those connections, because one of the things that we notice, particularly with mental health and with addictions, is people who aren't feeling connected have a tendency to get more ill or start using drugs or alcohol more frequently. And so one of the primary things that we try to make sure that people are doing is connecting. Because when you feel connected, life has meaning and purpose, and you feel valued, right? And that's probably what if you're feeling low, most people experience, or when I ask, is like, how do you feel? Like, do you feel like you have value? And people, it's amazing how many people say, no, I don't think that I matter, right? And that's not true. So start to build some of those connections. Start building up so that you have that sense of value and that sense of self-worth, and see how you feel as a result of that, because other people, you need connections as well. So it's not just you. Everybody needs to connect. Humans are social creatures, and we don't, even the biggest introvert does not do well in total isolation. And so start thinking about what those connections might be. So your homework today will be, I want you to write down in your binder about who are the people you feel connected to, and I want you to try and list at least 2. Okay, and then what places or organizations do you feel connected to? So that could be anything. It could be the theater. It could be a hockey arena. It could be, your workplace, anything. So, and then what hobbies or interests do you enjoy? Okay, and if you're really struggling with that, what you can do is you can Google Pleasant Event List and see what, and if you want Pleasant Event List for DBT, so D as in dog, B as in Bob, and T for Tom, and then see what pops up, because I know with the DBT they have about 225 different activities that you can do if you're having a hard time kind of processing, well, what can I do? I don't know. I don't have any hobbies. I don't have any activities. I don't even know what I'd like. And there would be a link there. If I can find the link, I will put it down in the description. I couldn't find one at the time of this recording for an actual full list, but there should be a lot of, but I did notice that if you Googled Pleasant Event List or DBT, then you will see quite a few selections of things that you can do. So that is it for today. And next session will be the last session. So we're going to take a look at, putting it all together. So I want to thank you for being on this journey with us. And don't skip the last one, because sometimes the last one is the biggest thing, because like I said, we're going to try and put all this together for you. So good luck with your exercise, and we'll see you next time.